These are all of the books that I read in June. Let's talk about it. So today's video is going to be my June wrap-up. I feel like June went by so quickly. Anybody else? I feel like May was the longest month of my entire life. I got so much stuff done, so much reading done, and June came out in the blink of an eye, and I have no idea where it went, but it is now June 30th, so let's talk about the books that I read in June. So today's wrap-up is going to be a little bit different, not a whole lot different, but I have pie charts. Do you guys want to see my pie charts? I made pie charts. So in the month of June, I finished 12 books, and I did have one DNF. We'll talk about it. Those books amounted to 4,930 pages. I'm not sure if that's more or less than May. That's a lot of pages, almost 5,000 pages. Whoa, Nelly J. Wow. In terms of genre, I have a pie chart. For the genres. So I read 3 fantasy romance, 1 YA/middle grade fantasy, 1 sci-fi romance, 1 adult sci-fi, 4 contemporary romance books, 1 cozy fantasy, 1 memoir, and 1 historical romance. So we're all over the place. I don't know what happened. I was picking different eggs out of different baskets. I have no idea. We were all over the place. In terms of star rating, I have 1 book that I gave no rating to. I have 1 1-star book, 1 book that I rated 2 stars, 1 book that I rated 3 stars, 1 book that I rated 3.5 stars, 2 4 stars, 3 4.5 stars, 1 5-star, and 2 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 stars, which are new favorites. So let's just get right into it, okay? We got quite a few books to talk about, okay? The first book that I finished in the month of June was Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I'm not going to talk overly much about this one or the other books that have dedicated vlogs because I just feel like that's a little bit redundant. But in this book, we are following our main character, Violet, who is the daughter of this prestigious general. So Violet's country, Nevers, has been at war with this neighboring country for God knows how long. So most of the children train all of their lives to pretty much give their life to one of 4 quadrants. There's the infantry, the healers, the dragon riders, and the scribes. Our main character, Violet, originally wanted to be a part of the scribes, but her mother, being a highfalutin general, decides that her daughter must become a rider. So this book follows Violet as she is training to become a dragon rider, going through the trials to, you know, get a dragon and things like that. There's an enemies to lovers romance in here as well. I ended up giving this one 4.5 out of 5 stars. It was a very nostalgic read for me. If you want more of my thoughts, I will have my Fourth Wing reading vlog linked up in the cards and down below for you to go and check out. Next, I read Lover Avenged by J.R. Ward. This is book 7, I believe, in the Black Dagger Brotherhood series. This is Revenge and Elena's story. This specific volume has a lot of drug abuse and also SA and rape. It is a very dark book. Revenge is dealing with a lot of different things, and Elena is one of the kind of nurses at Havers Clinic, which is like the vampire clinic. She is a nurse there, and obviously Revenge has to go to Havers to get his drugs of choice. This is a very dark book, but it's also the book that has restored my hope for the series, because book 3 in this series I absolutely loved. Books 4, 5, and 6 I didn't like vibe with that much, but this one was really, really good. I ended up giving this one 4.5 out of 5 stars. We have a new favorite. We have The Right Move by Liz Tom Ford. This is a new favorite for pretty much everybody who reads it. I have heard nonstop about how amazing Ryan Shea is, who is the hero in this book, and he is. He is so delicious, so yummy. So in this one, we are following Indy, and she is the best friend of Stevie from book 1. And when Indy finds her current boyfriend cheating on her, she obviously needs a place to stay in the city. Stevie says, hey, why not move in with my brother, who's this super hot NBA star who's got an extra bedroom in his apartment? And Indy obviously says yes. I absolutely loved Ryan Shea. I feel like he is one of the heroes that I very rarely see in romance. He has this quiet kind of love. It's not overdone. He doesn't do any grand, spectacular gestures, just these quiet things like remembering that she likes her coffee iced. So when he makes his in the morning, he puts one in the fridge so that when she wakes up, she can have cold coffee and it's not watered down by ice. Or remembering to bring vegan meat to a cookout where nobody knows that Indy is vegan except for Ryan. Just those small, kind things that he does to show Indy that he cares. Just this quiet kind of love. It just makes you feel like you're wrapped up in a nice warm blanket. Indy was a fantastic heroine as well. I absolutely loved this book. I was bawling my eyes out towards the end of it. It's got a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 stars. It was definitely a new favorite, and I'm so glad that I read it, and I'm so excited for book 3 in this series. Next, I read Rogue Protocol by Martha Wells. This is book number 3 in the Murderbot Diaries. I'm really liking the audiobooks for these. I'm getting them from my library. Hoopla is my savior for audiobooks. I really liked this one, but I didn't like it as much as book 2. I did give it a 3.5 stars because I did enjoy some of the characters that are in this. If you watch my videos regularly, you know who Murderbot is, but it just seems like throughout this series, Murderbot does not want anything to do with humans, and he is against his will being drug into the shenanigans of these humans who are flouting around in space, and he is just so exasperated by their stupidity, and it is just so entertaining, and I'm really excited to get into book 4 in July. Next, we have House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. This is a cozy fantasy, and I loved it. So in this, we are following Linus Baker, who is kind of like a social worker for orphaned magical children. At the beginning of this, he is given a very special task from extremely upper management to go and investigate this orphanage in this little teeny tiny island off the coast of this little teeny tiny town. This orphanage is housing 6 of the strangest, wildest children that Linus has ever come across, one of them being the Antichrist, and it is so good. I absolutely loved Linus's character. He's one of those characters that is kind of really awkward. I feel so much kinship with that. Linus is not very well versed in how to communicate with people. He's also a very by-the-book character at the beginning of this. He has this book called Rules and Regulations that he carries around with him everywhere and reads it all the time. He is very by the book. He wants to keep himself detached from these children, from their headmaster, Arthur Parnassus, but the lovely children and Arthur start to break down his walls, and it is just such a beautiful thing to watch. I loved each of the children in this. They have such loud and fun personalities that are so singular to each of them. I do have to say that this book was kind of like watching a movie. I prefer my books to be like I'm in it, you know, I'm right there with these characters. They feel real to me, but this one felt like watching a movie. I felt like I was on the outside looking in. So I did give this one 4 out of 5 stars. I still really loved it, and I think this would make a fantastic movie. It kind of gave me the same vibes as Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children and also the Wayward Children series. If you like either of those, I really think that you would like this as well. I'm really eager to read more by TJ Klune, so we shall see. We shall see. He just has this very whimsical way of writing his stories and writing his characters. Loved it, loved it. Okay, moving on. Next, we have my DNF for the month, and that was 50 Shades of Grey by E.L. James. I rated this one on Goodreads, which I don't normally do for DNFs because I don't think it's fair, but I did get to page 395 of this book. I do have a dedicated vlog for this, but also this was my 1-1-star of the month. If you were wondering what I rated it and why I DNF'd it, you can go and check out my vlog. I will have that linked up in the cards and down below in the description, whichever you prefer for you to go and check out. Okay, I'm glad my mom died by Jeanette McCurdy. I saw so many people talking about this book or hauling this book a couple of months, maybe a year ago, I don't know, and I knew that it was going to be dealing with some tough topics before going in, but I was willfully unprepared. It is dealing a lot with eating disorders and emotional and physical abuse that she experienced at the hands of her mother, and how she is dealing with that, especially after her mother's death, because her entire life was surrounded by her mother and making her mother happy. And now that her mother has passed away, Jeanette is having to grapple with the fact that, number 1, she doesn't really know who she is, and number 2, she has no control over what's going on in her life, as well as with her eating disorders. It is a very, very difficult book to read. I listened to this one on audio, and Jeanette obviously narrates this, and it was just so painful to read. I did not give this one a rating because I just don't think that it's right, in my opinion, you know, You do what you want, girl. But in my opinion, I don't think it's right to put a star rating to someone's life or to someone's experiences. So because of this, I didn't give it a star rating, but Lord have mercy. I mean, I don't even want to say that I enjoyed it just because of how dark and difficult the topics were and how emotionally vulnerable Jeanette was in this book, but it was so poignant and well written. You could really see her humor coming through, and she did say multiple times in the book that she used humor as a kind of distraction or as a coping mechanism, and you could definitely see her humor coming through. So at some points it was funny, and then it would turn right back on its head and be really, really dark and difficult. If these types of subjects are not your triggers specifically, I would definitely say to check this out. Okay, so these next 4 books I read for my Jen Picks My TBR vlog, which should be up already if you are seeing this video, but I'm just gonna go through them really quickly. I'm not going to go on and on and on about them because I will be going on and on and on about them in my vlog. So if you want to go check out my vlog, you can do that. So the first book that I read for that vlog was Him by Serena Bowen and Elle Kennedy. This is a male-male hockey romance. Oh my god, I really liked it. So in this, we are following Jamie and Wes, and when they were children, they used to go to this hockey camp together every summer, and they became best of friends until one night on their last day at hockey camp when they were 18. Some things happen that prompts Wes to feel like he pressured Jamie into doing things, and so Wes pretty much takes himself out of the equation. 4 years later, when they are both seniors in college, their respective hockey teams are going to the National College Hockey Championships at the same time, and they find each other in this hotel, and they start to become on speaking terms again. It's a second chance, and it's one of those romances that just made me feel so giddy and happy and lovely inside. I just loved both of these characters so much, and I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. So next, I read Forever Your Rogue by Erin Langston. This is a historical romance, single mother romance, kind of like Rogue meets the prim and proper girl. So in this, we are following our heroine Cora, and at the beginning of this story, her husband, Lord Dane, has passed away, and he has not left her the children, rights over the children. So insert Lord Dane's sister, Lady Carleton, and her husband, and they have decided that Cora is an unfit mother because she is a single woman, and she's just not raising the children right, and so they have intentions of taking the children to raise for their own. Cora obviously doesn't want this, so she enlists the help of her brother and also her best friend to find her a husband, and the husband comes in the form of her best friend's roguishly handsome brother, Nathaniel. They enter into a mutually beneficial fake fiance situation in order to trick the Carletons into believing that the children are going to have a man in the house. They are going to have a full family, and to kind of get the Carletons off Cora's back so she can keep her children. I felt like this one was too long. There was things that I loved about it, things that I didn't really like about it, but I also feel like my feelings about this book probably were affected by my mood. My mood at the time that I read this was kind of blasé, so I feel kind of blasé about this book. I rated it 3 stars. Next, I read A Hunger Like No Other by Cressley Cole. This is book 1 in the Immortals After Dark series. So in this, we are following Emmeline, and at the beginning of this story, she is in Paris. She is a half Valkyrie, half vampire person who is trying to figure out why she exists, pretty much, who her parents are, what happened to them, how did they get together, because vampires and Valkyries are not really friends. Insert our main man, Lachlan. Lachlan was captured 200 years ago and has since been tortured repeatedly for the past 200 years until he caught scent of his mate, broke out of his prison, and has resurfaced and is hunting for her. Obviously, Emmeline is in a little bit of danger. This is everything that I've ever wanted from this kind of alpha male, you're mine bullshit that kind of works for me, kind of doesn't work for me, depending on the book. This one, it really, really worked for me. I gave this one 5 stars. I loved it. Real by Kennedy Ryan. This is my first Kennedy Ryan. I was prepared to be broken, and I was. In this, we are following our heroine, Neva Saint, and at the beginning of this, she is finally getting her chance to be the lead actress on Broadway. At this performance, a very, very talented director named Cannon Holt sees her for the first time, and he has been searching for 6 months for a woman to play this illustrious, super talented jazz musician, Desi Blue, who was a jazz musician from the Harlem Renaissance who has since kind of been forgotten by time. And once she steps on stage, he sees Neva and he says, "There is my Desi Blue." This is one of those books where the characters feel so real that I feel like they're actually like legit people and I could look them up. I'm telling you, I was on Wikipedia searching for Desi Blue until I figured out that she was fake. I read the author's note and I was just so completely heartbroken. I wanted to watch Canon's documentaries. I wanted to watch the Desi Blue movie. I wanted to read about Neva Saint. Neva also deals with lupus, so that is a theme that is prevalent throughout the latter half, pretty much, of the book, but I fucking loved it. It was a new favorite. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 stars. Next, I listened to Howl's Moving Castle by Diane Wynne Jones. If you don't know, Howl's Moving Castle is one of my favorite movies of all time. I have a Howl's Moving Castle blanket. I have Howl up on my wall. I have a Studio Ghibli tattoo. It's a part of my personality at this point. But I had never read the original book by Diane Wynne Jones, and this month I actually did that. I listened to this one on audio and I really loved it. The first half of this book really followed true with the movie, but right at the halfway point, the book goes bananas. There are so many different things in this book that are not in the movie. I feel like it gave me the next episode in a series that I was just jonesing for, you know, that I didn't know I needed. Somehow, Hal is even more dramatic and whiny and crazy in the book than he is in the movie, and I just loved him so much. He was so charming and wonderful. I actually loved Sophie even more in the book as well. I just loved her little nitpicking and her always wanting to clean something and her being in everybody's business. I absolutely loved it. It was a lot more action-packed than the movie. There are some differences. I know I'm comparing it a lot to the movie, but I'm telling you the movie is a part of my personality. But I fucking loved it. It was so good. It was one of those stories where it felt like I was coming back home, you know, to a story that I love so much, but some things are different and I loved them as well. So I gave this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. And the last book that I read in June was King Cobra by Naomi Lucas, and this is book 2 in the Naga Brides. This is Daisy and Zaku's story. This one didn't work for me as much. Zaku was so focused on the fact that he was king and Daisy was going to be his queen that he constantly was saying it, and it got on my nerves. Daisy was also getting on my nerves as well because she kept waffling back and forth on whether or not to trust the delicious smelling snake monster, and I was just like, let the snake man love you, please, Lord God, can we move on? This also followed the timeline of book 1, which I did like book 1, but because it followed the timeline of book 1, I already knew everything that was going to happen towards the end of the book. Also, their story itself feels so unfinished. What the fuck was that ending? Why are we not going to see what's going to happen from their copulation? I don't know. I was just so frustrated by the end. I was just like, are you kidding me? That was the only thing that I was actually interested in. What is going to happen with these things, you know? And I really don't know if I'm going to continue on with this series because the next book is Shelby's book and that other guy, Vaden or whatever his name is, and Shelby is such a spineless coward and I fucking hate her so much. I don't want to read a whole book about her. And Vaden is Mr. Trying to Steal Your Girl and I have no interest. I think the Naga Brides is done for me. So those were all of the books that I read in the month of June. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you have not already. I hope you have a fan-fucking-tastic day, gorgeous, and I will see you next time.